All right, good afternoon. Let's get going. So we are going to start on our backs. Okay, so let's just go ahead and hug those knees into the chest, rest that head down. Maybe give it a little rock from side to side. Just close down those eyes. Maybe take a couple of big breaths, sighing it out. Just kind of relax a little bit. Okay, now let's keep that right knee hugged in. Extend that left leg out long. And just twist that leg across. So right leg twists across that left side. Right arm reaches out. Bring it back up. Let's switch sides. Hug that left knee in. Right leg reaches out and twist it across. And bring that knee back to center. Go ahead and lower both feet down onto the mat. Okay, press into those feet. Let's scoop that tailbone up and continue to roll up one vertebrae at a time. So those arms can just be down by the sides, really scooping that tailbone up. And extend out through those hip flexors. And slowly roll it on down. Tailbone will be the last thing that lowers. Good, press and roll the hips up. Roll it down. Last time, press, roll it on up. And back down. Now let's bring those knees so they're stacked over those hips. Shins are parallel to the ground. Interlace those fingers behind the head. We're going to extend that left leg out so it just hovers a few inches above the ground, and then twist that left elbow comes across. Try to work that elbow towards that right knee. Inhale it back to center, and then we'll switch sides. So right elbow comes to that left knee, back to center, over to the right, center to the left, center to the right, center, left, and center. Let's go 10 more. So to the right, 10, 9, really slow with this. 8, pause for a second when that leg is extended. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Get back in, rest that head down. Gentle sway from side to side. And let's plant those feet down. Again, one time, just roll the hips up. And roll it back down. This time, we'll hug those knees in. Just the legs only. We're going to extend both legs out. Those arms can just come right by this side. So pressing that low back really flat into the mat. Good, holding here. If you need to be up a little bit higher with those legs, that's fine too. And then hug it back in. Lower those feet down. Bridge those hips up. Back down. Hug the knees. Extend just those legs out. Getting them as close to the ground as you can with that low back being nice and flat. And hug it back in. Feet down. Bridge the hips up. And down. Hug the knees in. And arms are the sides. Extend those legs out. Let's hold and do little kicks, little flutter kicks. Let's go for a 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hug it. And then rock forward and back. Maybe take a couple tries. Get up to a seat, crossing those legs. And we'll inhale those arms up overhead, reaching up nice and tall. Then we'll twist it over to your right side. So tall on that inhale, exhale, twist. Inhale, bring it back up, and exhale, twist it to that other side. Let's go 2 more times each way. Reach up and twist. Back up and twist. Last time, each side, reach and twist. Reach up and twist. And bring it back to neutral. We'll come onto those hands and knees. Few cat-cow. So inhale, drop that belly, lift the chest, lift the tailbone, look up. Exhale, round. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, round. Inhale, lift. And round. And lift. And round. And bring it back to neutral. Go ahead and step those feet back to that plank. Hold it for a breath here. Legs are strong. Toes pull forward. Hands are pulling back. Looking kind of towards those fingertips. Let's go 3, 2, and 1. Pressing those hips up to the sky. Down dog. So hips press up. Tailbone or heels. Tailbone is pressing up. The heels are pressing down. One more breath. Then come onto the toes. Bend those knees, step those feet up, top of the mat. Half lift on that inhale. And exhale, fold. Inhale, rise. Interlacing those fingers. Side bend to the right. Back up to the left. Bring it back up, nice flat back as we fold. Half lift. Flatten out that back as much as you can. And then from here, sliding those hands down a little further, and a little further. Keeping that back nice and flat. Big, big stretch through those hamstrings. Maybe we flex the fronts of those thighs a little bit. Not so much that we lock out or hyperextend, but just flexing here, feeling a little bit more stretch through the backs of the legs. Then I go ahead and plant those hands down. Let's step those feet back to a plank. Feet are going to be a little bit wider. Just dropping the heels to the right. Center, heels to the left. Center, let's go 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Front plank. Shift weight forward, lower down, point those toes. Okay. Hands are right underneath the shoulders. Feet are drawing together. Roll the shoulders down and back, lifting through the chest. Then we're going to lift those hands up and then squeeze those elbows back. And then relax it down. Again, roll the shoulders down and back. Lift that chest. Lift the hands. Squeeze those elbows back. And down. Last time, lift. Pull it back. And soften it down. Curl those toes under. Reverse. And then hips up into that down dog. And let's step those feet again to those hands. Find that flat back. And fold. Let's rise on up. Interlace those fingers. Side stretch to the right. Back up to the left. Bring it back up. Flatten out that back as we fold. So again, maybe bring those hands to the shins. You can maybe go a little bit lower this time around. So you can keep that tiny, tiny bend in the knees and then flexing those quad muscles. Slide the hands down a little more. Maybe a little bit more. Go ahead and fold. Just let it hang heavy for a breath. And we'll plant those hands, step those feet back to our plank. You know, we got 10 of them, just dropping the heels from side to side. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Shift that weight forward, lower down, point those toes, roll the shoulders down and back, lift that chest, squeeze those elbows back, soften down, lift, pull it back, and down. Last time, lift, squeeze back. Now this one, plant those hands down. If you want to lift up even more into that up dog, you can give it a little sway from side to side. And then from here, send those hips back into that child's pose. So maybe getting a little bit more rounding through that spine. whatever you feel like you need. So if you want more rounding, bring the knees a little bit closer together. One more opening through the hips, knees a little wider. And come onto those hands and knees. Step it back to a plank. Hips up, down dog. Now let's step those feet behind the hands, heels in, toes out. Let's come into that squat. So we're gonna keep gripping those toes, pressing the feet out, the knees out. Sink down as low as you can into that squat. Hands come to heart center. And hold it here. Make sure that back is nice and flat. So you might have to lift those hips up a teeny tiny bit higher than you normally would. Let's go 3, 2, and 1. Straighten those legs out as we fold. Just give it a little sway from side to side. And then let's bend into those knees. Flatten out that back. Come all the way up to standing. Bring those hands to the hips. We're gonna bring that left knee to the chest. Cross that ankle over. If you need a ball to help you balance, go ahead and find one. Sinking those hips back. So big stretch through that left outer hip. Back is flat. You gotta hinge from that hip. Bring that chest towards that shin. Maybe drop the hips down a little bit lower. And you can always bring your hands to the shin or even heart center. That's a little bit more comfortable. And then inhale, bring it back up. Take a big step back. Warrior 1 stance. So the left toes are just turned out a few degrees, pulling that right hip back. Left hip is pulling forward. Core stays nice and tight. And then bend into that front knee a little bit more. Let's reach those arms up, soften those shoulders. One more breath. Let's pull those hands down behind the back. Interlace the fingers, open that chest up. Just pause here. Staying tall. I know that back maybe wants to arch a little bit more, but try and keep that core a little bit tighter, still first protecting that low back. And then release those hands. Step the feet forward. We'll go to the other side. Right leg lifts. Cross that ankle over. Drop those hips down. Flexing that right foot. Sit a little lower. A little lower. And a little lower. Breathe. Okay, then inhale, rise up. Big step back with that right foot. Square those hips off, core tight. And when you're ready, reach those arms up. Soften those shoulders down. Really press into that back heel. And then we'll interlace those fingers behind the back. Open up through that chest. And release those hands. Step those feet up, reaching those arms up nice and tall. And then flat back, fold. From here, heel toe walk those feet out. So I like to bring my toes right to the edges of the mat. Squat down. Pressing the knees out, the feet out wide. Maybe this time around we can sit a little bit lower if those hips have opened up, maybe a tiny bit more. Just hold here. You can always sway from side to side, a little bigger, a little more stretch through those ankles. One more breath. And straighten the legs as we fold, walking those feet about hip distance apart. Inhale, rise up to standing. Bringing those hands to the hips. We'll lift that left knee up, cross that ankle over, sink those hips back. And inhale, rise up. Step that foot back. Warrior one stance. Arms are reaching up. Interlace those fingers behind the back. Open that chest. And then start to fold. So hover that chest. Ribcage comes inner thigh. Shoulder can maybe come down towards that knee. And then release. Bring it back up. Straighten that front leg. And then we'll slide that hand down the shin. So now we're getting a big hamstring stretch. Really actively pressing that back heel, that left heel into the mat. And then go ahead and rise on up. Step left foot forward. Right knee lifts. Ankle crosses over. And sink the hips back. Maybe sit a little lower. And inhale, bring it on up. Step that foot back to that warrior one. Reach those arms up. We'll pull those elbows down, open the chest, and then start to fold. So working that shoulder towards that knee does not have to touch. If it does, great. If you're feeling a little bit tight, you need to be a little bit higher, that's fine too. And release those hands. Rise back up. Now we'll straighten that front leg. Slide the hands down the shins. Pulling that left hip up and back. Lengthen through that spine. And go ahead and rise on up. Step the feet forward. Reaching those arms up tall. Exhale, fold. Let's walk those feet out a little bit wider. Heels in, toes out. And sink the hips down into that squat. One more breath. And straighten those legs out as we fold. And then plant those hands and let's step it back to our plank. Let's shift that weight forward, lower all the way down onto the stomach. We got 3 of those cobras. So pull the shoulders down and back, lift the chest. Hands are pulling back, elbows pull back and down. Good, lift, squeeze it back and down. Last one, lift, hold it back. Now we'll plant the hands, lift that chest up a little higher into that up dog if that feels all right. And then from here, send it back to that child's pose. And then come back up. Let's come to a seat. We're gonna go left leg extended out. The right foot is gonna come to that left inner thigh. Okay, start with the side bend first. So left elbow always comes on top of or right inside that thigh. Open up through that chest. So if you had a wall right behind you, yes, you're arcing over, but your back is flat against that wall. So both shoulder blades are flat. Right arm reaches up and over, big side stretch. Okay, so we're not rolling that right shoulder forward at all. We're pushing it back into that imaginary wall. Belly stays tight. And bring it back up. Let's do a little twist. Left hand comes across that knee, sit tall. And twist, look over that shoulder. Come to the other side. We're gonna extend your right leg out, coming into that side bend. So lowering that right forearm down, Left arm reaches up and over. Good, and bring it back up and twist over that left knee. Now bring it back to center. Both legs are gonna go out super wide. Flexing through those feet. So we think we're gonna actively pull those feet wide. So even if they're not moving, we're kind of flexing our glutes back here, firing them to pull the feet wider as we bring our chest down to the mat. So again, I'm not rounding through my spine. I can feel my sit bones into the ground, and then I'm rolling over them. So I'm keeping my back as flat as possible as I roll it forward. So it might take a minute for these inner thighs to kind of release. So just hold it here. We've got a couple of minutes. So get that big stretch, lengthen through that spine. Pull the chest forward a little bit more. So then kind of lengthen out, squeeze those glutes, and then pull forward a little more. Okay, then go ahead and bring it back up. And bring those legs together. Go ahead and cross them. Whatever you would like. Reach those arms up. Let's side bend it over to the right. And up to the left. Back up. Twist to the right. And to the left. And center. Close down those eyes. Let's take a big breath in through the nose. And out through the nose. And blinking those eyes open. All right. Thank you all so much for joining. Have a great afternoon. And then we have an all levels flow at 4:45. So hopefully you can make that. And I will see you all later.